contribute, and everybody's different. It's a tool, and it's something that evolves as you go along. It's not something you craft once and publish forever while you do a book. So if you wanted to look at the very last page of this little handout, if you happen to have one where it says references, you have blue lines, I'm giving credit to the source for me for this, which was Denise Grover Swank. She's a best-selling author of young adult, and she does romantic mysteries that are really sweet and light and fun, and the young adult I think are dystopian. Anyway, I heard her speak at a conference once, and she said the best thing she had ever done, I guess it was last year, around this time actually, best thing she had ever done was do a proper business plan for herself. She found it very productive, and she helpfully put hers online in 3 parts of a blog, and that link will take you there. So being a person who likes to do her homework, I diligently followed through. And I spent a Saturday afternoon last year doing my first business plan, and she was right. It's really productive. It really helps you clarify your own goals and intentions, and I think it's especially important for creative people to think about their own actual real goals. You might think that if you want to write a book and publish books that your goal is to be a best-selling author. Well, maybe it is and maybe it isn't, right? That's sort of an obvious goal that people pull down, I think, often without even really thinking about what that might even mean in terms of how do you do your work and how you plan your year. So without further ado, we can look at the first page, table of contents. These are all components that Denise had in her business plan. And as I was just looking at this today, I revised it and removed one of her components. But basically, there's the description, which is the all-important mission statement. And that's what we're going to spend more time on than anything else. Mine is not that poetic, but it used to be more so. Ownership and location of business. This is very boilerplate, businessy kind of stuff. It's useful for helping you think about how you're going to declare yourself as how you're going to do your taxes. And I think in case, another function for the business plan, I should back up a little bit. Mainly, it's a planning tool for you yourself. It helps you clarify your abilities, your goals, your values, and helps you think about a production schedule. It can help you think about a marketing budget. So it's a tool for yourself. But it can also be submitted to other people for various purposes. So I participated with Sisters in Crime in the Texas Book Festival last year, and I sent them one of my books to be on their special table. I forget what it's called. They didn't accept it. But what they wanted from self-published authors was a business plan. And I think that was their way of separating the sheep from the goats, except I can never remember which is good, sheep or goats. But to me, I would always vote for the goats. But the career is from hobbyists, I think. And there are a lot of people nowadays, and organizations trying to do that, make that separation. And they're using all kinds of different criteria. I think Romance Writers Association, they have categories where of writers, so you graduate into these categories as you become increasingly serious about your career. So they have one called Pro, which is for people who are serious about publication but haven't gotten there yet. And then they have PAN, which is the Published Author Network. So how are they going to accommodate indies in the Published Author Network? I think there was a big battle about it a few years ago, and now they've decided after you make $5,000, because $5,000 is a typical advance for a romance novel. And that's fair enough, right? Seems like a good criterion to me. Others have done things like Amazon reviews. So at a mystery writers conference, you'll see some criterion for being accepted to speak on one of their panels. They're trying to figure out, well, who's serious and who's not. I don't quite know what the cut is anymore. Anyway, business plan is not a bad way of distinguishing careers from hobbyists, I think. So this ownership and location of business, this is for your serious readers. And it can help you. I don't deduct for a home office, for example, because I do other stuff in my office. So products, this is really useful. Define what you produce. Fiction, nonfiction, short stories, novels, all of your output. You're going to publish a series of calendars, whatever it is. And I think this is also a good place to describe your series and your target audiences, although Denise broke that target audience out in another subcategory. So distributors and pricing. How do you get your books out there for sale, and how do you decide how much to charge for them? And then this is a good place to put a list that says, this is what I charge for this category of product. Okay. This is great. It's a good planning tool. It helps to have all that stuff in one place, I think. And it forces you to actually make some decisions in a way, just so that you can properly fill out your list, which for me is terribly important. So the financial review. Start with a summary of last year, which forces you to actually do a summary for last year. And then once you start making income, then you have to start being more serious about that. But then list all of your expenses. So this helped me discover what I spend per book. It's a little different for each of my genres. Marketing. Last year I just threw pasta at a wall, lots of pasta, spent too much money on the pasta, and only a little bit of it stuck. So that helped me understand, how that is, and that it's better to set a goal. But otherwise, I would have been pulling a number out of a hat in terms of setting a marketing budget for the year. So you need to analyze your last year's marketing activities, and this is a tool for doing that. It's also research and development. I do research for my historical series, which means I go to London and have a whale of a good time, but I'm diligent. I take notes. I really am working, and I deduct all of it, including my Oyster card. So that's research. And conferences and writing workshops. I just spent $150 on a 2-day workshop with Michael Hay. That was worth every penny. That's professional development, very straightforward. That helps me become a better writer. So that stuff all absolutely goes into your budget. It's part of your career. When I was in UT, you get a budget for professional development, which is attending conferences and giving papers. It's not optional. It's part of your job. So it's not just frills. Okay. Now the second most important thing. First important is the mission statement. Second is the production schedule, I think. I guess marketing might be. Financial review is probably second. Production schedule is really important. This is a major planning tool. And it really helps you doing this. Figuring out how to plan your production schedule means understanding your process. And that is a very useful thing for any author to do. So I'm going to talk more about that than the other stuff, probably, because it's something you have to learn how to do. Services and providers, it's good to have all of that in one place. Everyone from your proofreader, cover designer, website designer, if you have a personal assistant, a virtual assistant or whatever, all those go in there. Your platform, that's all of your components of your internet presence, from your own website to your Pinterest account, and I think it's a good idea to put a little paragraph saying, why am I doing this? Because you want to keep a lid on that. Maybe that you want a presence everywhere. I hate LinkedIn, but everybody said, no, you've got to have a LinkedIn thing, and I do. And through that, I got invited to participate on a panel at Key West Mystery in June. It's going to be fun. Yeah, frequent flyer miles for that one. Marketing plan. So this is a broad strategy and breakdown of specifics. I do my real marketing plan in a separate document where I try, not 100% successfully, to maintain an evolving to-do list of things to do every month. And that way, I'm sitting there, I'm waiting for a thing to happen 30, 40 minutes. You can knock out 3 marketing tasks in 30 minutes if you know what they are. If you don't know what they are, you can't. So what are your research and development plans for the year? Professional associations, this is coming straight out of my academic history. Professional associations are further proof that you're serious about your job. Professionals belong to their professional associations, and references, which you just saw. So that's the grand overview. This is not, I should always say, this is never a rule. You don't have to do it, but it's a starting point. It's a tool, and you tinker with it, and you figure out which parts of it make sense for you and which ones don't. So, questions, comments, table contents? Okay. Okay, so description of Anna Castle Publishing, that's what I decided to call it. Once I had to start, these things are always in the third person, right? And so once you start calling it in third person, and that's good, because if you start using the first person, they tend to drift into sort of a journaling thing. And actually, I had a friend of mine who used to do corporate training reviewed my first draft from my 2015 plan, and she said it was too personal. And so you wouldn't want to send something like that to the Texas Book Festival. She suggested maintaining 2 of them. I think you should just go ahead and do the one, and then if you need to send it to something, take out all the, I had like this paragraph of why I chose to write with a pseudonym. I'm bored with that story. I don't need to say it anymore. It's kind of, as she put it, it's something you might put on your blog sometime, but it's not really part of my business plan. It's just it could be for you. It might be more important. Anyway, my purpose, this is the description of Castle Publishing, is your mission statement. My principal purpose as a writer is to write what I want. And then my secondary purpose is to find the readers who want to read what I write. So that's the marketing component. But making a living, I don't need to make a living from this. I have retirement funds. That's what I live on. So making a living as soon as possible is not one of my principal goals. It might be for someone else. And you need to know what that goal is because it will inform your every decision. I can write, if I have a friend who's writing contemporary romance, Katie Grakowski. She's an indie writer. She's fabulous. She's extremely witty. She's been reading this genre since she was a kid. She knows it really well. She's got this kind of slightly snarky but underlyingly very warm perception of people. She's very extroverted. She loves to watch people and think about what's up with them and actually go up to them and ask them amazingly nosy questions. She gets life histories out of people. So her books are flying off the shelf. She's very successful. And she told me recently that her goal is to be Nora Roberts. And I think that she's on track, right? It's not even impossible for her to be Nora Roberts. If my goal were to be Nora Roberts, I'd be going about it ass backwards. Nora Roberts does not write historical mysteries featuring Francis Bacon, right? This is not the way to make it to the top of the charts in a big hurry. But I love writing these books where I live. If I only sold 100 a year, I'd keep writing them. So that's number one for me, is to write what I want. I would like to sell more of them. I don't hate money. I like money as much as the next person maybe. But it's more important for me to write what I want. So your goals will be different. They can be all over the map. Maybe your goal is to write the biography of your great-grandmother, and your intended audience is your extended kinship. So if you sold 100 copies all told, you'd feel you've done a great job. You still want to write a great book and get a great cover. That's a fabulous goal. It's a wonderful goal. And you might even do a business plan. You might go to conferences. But your goals that's your goal, and you need to understand it. It will affect how much money you spend on marketing and everything else, right? So if you are Katie and you're projecting a certain amount of sales every year, increase, you might be willing to go out on a little bit of a limb in terms of spending money on your marketing budget, because you'll expect you can have a fair guess if that's going to have a good positive return for you. It would be dumb for me to do that, given what I want to write and the way things have gone last year. This is not, maybe next year will be different. This year it would be stupid for me to spend a lot of money on marketing. I need to be more reasonable than I was last year. So my goal for 2016 is to break even. And I know how much my publishing costs are. So I think I will, actually. I think that would be a great result for someone. On that thing, I'm not being self-deprecating. I look at some of my, what I think of as my competitors. Of course, they don't know who I am. But established authors of Elizabethan mysteries, when I look at our respective rankings at Amazon, I'm about on a par with some of them. And so that tells me that they're not making any money either. Although they have like 20 books apiece, right? So, and they've been at it for a long time, and for all I know, that they were in a slump that day or something. So, it's very individual, this part. Don't pick your goals out of somebody else's wish list. That's all I'm saying. And then that mission statement will inform everything else that you do that year. So if you find yourself getting driven or pulled or drawn or whatever, herded into some corner, you'll go, wait a minute, is this on my mission statement to spend time and money on this activity? Is this going to further my own goals? It can really help you anchor yourself a little bit. So I would spend quality time thinking about your mission statement. And there's that I put that boilerplate, I copied it almost directly from Denise, so I'm passing it on to you. Okay, so the product list. I write novels. I write, and this says, let's see, why do I think I can read that? That's very humorous. Okay, novellas and short stories. Just say basically, what do I intend to produce and what formats do I intend to produce them in, is the beginning part. And printed books, where they'll be available, digital books in 3 formats. Denise had this in her thing, and I think it's not a bad idea. All of my works can be rated PG-13. And it's part of how you're positioning yourself in your market, right? So that's important. And she had this next thing. So as I was writing this, I think I told you I changed my mind about part of it. She had this next part where she described her series under targeted audience. I have since, once I started looking at that again, I thought, no, I don't want to do that section, targeted audience. This description of the series that I write should go under products, because that is, I consider it has everything to do with, I price them differently, they're a little different in length, and so I conceive of them as separate sets of products in a way. So this is where I'm defining my series, and this definition comes largely from Denise's definition, where she basically just describes roughly what it is. My Francis Bacon books, they have these three protagonists, they're in third person, it's a rough thing, number of books planned, and this series, this is the one where I live, right, so it's mapped out to book 7. If I could write faster, I'd have 7 books out. But I love these books, and ideas for this series comes to me all the time. So your target audience, a rough idea of who your target audience is, that's a good thing to know. If you don't know that, figure it out. Think about the books. If you said, oh, these books are, one way is to look at who your also bots are, although I can't figure out why Candace Robb is in my also bots. I'm very curious about that. She's a best-selling, not quite indie, she uses a publishing sort of, I don't know if she would think of herself as indie or not. But they're medieval, and I don't see that they're that similar to mine, but the readers must see it. So it's kind of interesting. So you can look at who their readers are, right? And that might help you figure out who your readers are. Think of something similar. Well, who else is buying your books? Unless you actually know all the people that are also buying your books. So anyway, characterize your readers. Lost Hat series is a little different than my new series of Moriarty, Professor and Mrs. Moriarty series that I'm doing right now. Okay, so, and then what's in print, and that's the end of the product list. So if I had other kinds of products, I might say something about that. But it's a good thing to know what your series are. Distributors and pricing, so you might be doing Amazon Select. I'm not. I think I keep going back and forth on that, but I'm philosophically disinclined toward exclusivity. So I'm wide with all my books. And then the pricing strategy, it's good to explain how you decide how to price your books. You don't pick numbers out of a hat, I hope. What you do is you go and you look at those comparables. What are your peers charging? And of course, my comparables are not people who are traditionally published. I'm not going to charge $13.99 for an ebook or $7.99. That was actually an interesting exercise. There are kind of tiers. There's like, Penguin, first run, it's going to be $13, $12.99. And then there are some companies that are publishing the backlists of people like Ann Perry, who are a lot more savvy, right? So they're charging $7.99. It's an interesting set of levels. My role models in the Historical Mystery Department charge $4.99 for books of about the same length as my Francis Bacon series, so that's what I'm doing. These the shorter books, the Texas series, are shorter. They're lighter, and the comparables are. Janet De Leon is charging something like $5.99 by now, but I'm thinking $3.99 is fair. They're just a lighter breed. But anyway, you should have a strategy for choosing prices, setting prices. And this, I just listed the whole thing. I thought, that's good. Then I don't have to think about it again. When I bring out a box set, I'm going to know what I'm going to charge. So that's something. It kind of forces you to sit and go ahead and make decisions. And then they're made, right? It's not like they're written in stone, but they're there for you to refer to. So base prices for the printed books, which I actually just raised after starting to sell things on consignment. I did the math and I realized, wait a minute, I'm losing money on these things. Boost that price. Okay, so perma-free and discount sales, short stories. Now we come to the financial review. This was the one that took me the longest. It's a lot of work, and I would recommend doing this as you're doing your end of year report, right, for yourself. You have to get your facts in the row, getting ready for taxes, or maybe when you do your taxes, because it's related to that. I did that when I got all the royalty reports, like in early January, and I think I still had one more pending. But it was an eye-opener having income for the first time last year, or I had a little in 2014. But last year, you get income from all kinds of stuff that comes scavenging in. I made like $2.99 from Overdrive. I discovered that I have 2 copies of Murder by Misrule in a library in Ohio, which I think is really kind of fabulous. Toledo, Ohio. I love it. I love it. That's like, that's a major goal that I didn't even know I had. So, yeah. So that's the kind of stuff that really makes me happy. I mean, the numbers are little, right? But I'm like, yay, I sold a book in Austria. And, so it's really fun. Yeah. So, but on the other hand, I'm not an accountant, and this stuff comes to me in all kinds of different ways. Ingram Spark is the worst. They have this long spreadsheet. It's like from here all the way down to the end of the street with all these categories that to me look completely redundant. But they have these really kind of pompous accounting sort of names on them. So, and they're all a different format. It's not like you can all feed them easily. If I'm sad, pathetic, word-oriented person, I use spreadsheets to put stuff in neat little columns, and then I add them up in the calculator. So that's really bad. But, really, really pitiful. But next year I'm going to do better. I'm going to do a little better every year. And that Amazon, I don't think this is very helpful either. They have one column that has the little 3-letter code for the currency name, and the next column just has a number in it, right? Mm-hmm. So it would be easier for me, I realized, if I just broke that out into pounds, Australian dollars, Canadian dollars, because I'm selling in every English-speaking country, actually. Not a lot, but my UK sales are not unreasonable. They're respectable. And I sell paperbacks in the UK too, so I find very pleasing. So it's important, and it actually stimulates my thinking in terms of, I need to do more marketing in the UK, because that's obviously a good market for me. And I'm selling books in the Netherlands. I actually think I know exactly who's buying those books. I can go knock on their door tomorrow if I have a plane ticket. But, that's actually not a bad, that's a market to extend into also, because I think Germans would really like my Francis Bacon books. So something to think about when you see sales from places like that. But on the other hand, it's also a problem. I'm hoping we'll get an accountant into this group sometime, because feeding all those different kinds of pieces of information, figuring out how to handle the direct sale thing is confusing to me. I have sold books at random here and there, and I've sold some at Texas Book Festival. I sell some books here. I sell some at Book People. It's a trickle, but you want these trickles to build, and I've just barely gotten my toe in the water with this kind of thing. So I need help on that. It's really a lot of disparate pieces of information that all have to come together. And, it's income. The IRS is going to be interested, and the Texas Sales Tax Commission is interested. And you have to file a thingy even if you don't owe any sales tax. I just discovered once you get the permit, you're on their radar. So anyway, it's all, and it's not that hard once you learn how to do it. Like all this stuff. Okay, I have the hair in my glasses. There it is. Once you get the hang of it, and this forces you to kind of set up some structure for yourself. So I only started marketing last fall after the release of the Widows Guild. My main goal for 2015 was to get some books out there. So, and I did. I published 2. So this year I can publish more. But another main goal was to, get my rear end gear in terms of a consistent production pattern. And I achieved that. So even just 3 months of marketing made a big difference. In this special that I did at the end of January and February, I'm astonished at how effective that was. Like, oh, advertising, it works. And so that's exciting. And, you think, oh, man, nothing's going to happen. Well, not if you don't try. And you have to keep track of what does work. And I think this is the place to do that. So I redacted all the real numbers. But I broke out publishing expenses. So for my historical series, that's really simple. I have the same person who does my content, story edit, cover design, and copy edit. She specializes in historical fiction, and we've done 3 books together, and it's just a great relationship. So that's a well understood expense, and that adds up to a historical novel costs about $820. I have series cover design, so I get a discount because now it's to the point where we just pick a color and the little central image, and so it's easy for her. Listing a title at Ingram Spark costs $38. I hate Ingram Spark. They're evil beasts. But there they are, right? They're big evil beasts that you must make friends with somehow. And, it's right down to the publishing expense of ordering a proof copy from CreateSpace. Yeah. Actually, my little tip on that, in case you don't know, do your print book at CreateSpace, order proof copies, have a copy sitting on the table while you're sitting there signing books or something, so you can really, 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 really look at it before you do Ingram, because you have to pay another $25 to fix a mistake in Ingram. And CreateSpace is free. Ingram is not helpful, and CreateSpace is very helpful. My Texas series novels I'm still struggling with. I think they're going to end up being cheaper just because I'm having such a hard time finding a good editor. So I'll be paying for copy editing and beta readers for that series probably. So it's something to know, though, is what's your bottom line. So for me to get books out, the bottom line is about $800, $850. So you want to know that. And then on marketing, I did all kinds of stuff. But go ahead and include every last thing. Your bookmarks, right? Your shipping costs for Goodreads giveaway books.
Your offer is ready.
Website maintenance, I probably spend $250 a year. It just kind of depends. Last year I spent $500 because she upgraded me to the mobile access thingy, whatever all that was, and did some other stuff while we're at it. So all of your stuff, direct sale expenses. I had to buy some stuff for my table. Any kind of paid publicity. Keep track of all that stuff. And you probably already all do, but if you don't, definitely do. Create categories that are meaningful to you and track the categories, because that'll help you decide which ones were effective and which ones weren't. So I have spent lots of money on trying to get reviews, and I'm finding that that's not very effective. Probably the best way to get reviews is to offer your book free for a couple of days so you get 3,000 downloads. I have actually seen more reviews coming out of that than I did from anything else I did. Let's see. Okay, what else is on here? Marketing, publishing expenses, research and development expenses. And then you want to do the analysis and the projections. So let's see. Yep. I really studied this stuff, and then I summarized it here, and I redacted most of it. Just 'cause I don't know why. I just feel like I didn't need to share all of my stupid numbers with everybody. But I did a comparison of the various newsletters that I tried in terms of whenever I did a promotion. You know, I can't get BookBub. They don't want me yet. And also, BookBub would be $460 for me. So if I'm looking at a marketing budget of $2,500 for next year, that's a big chunk. That's like my quarterly budget practically. So I'm not sure that's great. I had wonderful results with Free Booksy, and that was only that was less than $100. How much were they? They're not on here because that was in January. They were great, and they don't they accept you if they have time for you. Sorry,
Who was it?
Free Booksy. Yeah, Free Booksy. BOOKSY. Yeah. And Book Sounds has been good. E-Reader News Today is hard to book. Book Gorilla, you have to plan too far ahead. I haven't quite gotten together there. All the other ones I thought were a total waste of time and money. And so, except for the ones, I think I did Flurry's UK. So I'm still looking for ones that are a little better in terms of reaching specifically UK readers. But I have a feeling that just tweeting to, like at Kindle UK is more effective, and it's free. So anyway, this is where you do that kind of analysis. My direct sale extension, good giveaway books, promotional materials, and what reviews I'm planning to continue to seek and pay for. Midwest Book Reviews is $50, and they like me, so I always go with them. I'm mad at self-publishing reviews, even though they've given me good reviews. I'm mad at them because their beta read was so bad, it was just almost insulting. It was so stupid. It was like this scale, 1 to 10. Let's see, plot arcs, scale of 1 to 10. They gave me a 7. I'm like, well, okay, fair enough, but so what, should I just make my plot 30% more excellent, or what exactly is the feedback here? It was useless. It was so useless that they're off my list forever. Otherwise, I don't know how you get reviews are tough. So expenses on the website, and you want to know why you're spending money on things. Is basically what that's about. So your total projected expenses derives from your analysis. What worked, what didn't, what have you heard about that might be better? And then your research and development. Conferences are usually planned a year out, right? So you'll know roughly what your intentions are on that and what you plan to spend. Okay. Onward and upward. I can read that one better. So the publication schedule. Oh, you can't find it. Production schedule. There you go. Yeah, this is great. This is a really important thing to know, and I suspect a lot of writers aren't that clear necessarily on how long it takes you to do different things. One of the things, it's easy to know how long it takes you to do a first draft, right? You set your goal. For me, 2,000 words a day is completely reasonable. I'm a retired person. I'm not flogging myself to write more. I find if I write 4,000 words a day that I'm too stupid to write the next day. It's funny. It's like I only have so many words per week. So 2,000 a day is great. And so that gives me time to do something else in the afternoon, some business or whatever. Everybody's different. But then I did not know how long it took me to do the rest of the writing work. How long should I spend on plotting? How long does it take me to revise my first draft? That's a big one. For my first book, it took, I think, about a year and a half. But so I actually don't recommend this for people who are writing their first book, because you've got 2 first book writers in my critique group right now, and I'm realizing your first book is just like a slow motion train wreck. And all you do is hang on and hope you survive until you get to the end. And it's just, there's no hope for it. So I'm working on book 8 by now, so I can make fun of people who are writing their first book, but gently.
That was an accurate description. It
yeah.
takes you a train wreck to get something going. Yeah.
It's like this long, screeching wail to get into the station. But so don't try to. All you can do with your first book is just get it finished somehow, and then revise it, and then write a second book and revise that, and go back and revise the first book, and then go back and revise the second book. Now you're ready to do your timing study. Okay, so I managed the digital archive at UT for 12 years, and that's where I learned the value of a good timing study. You don't keep getting grants from the National Endowment of Humanities to pay your very much wanted salary unless you know for vague goals, right? So you can't say, oh, we're just going to digitize as many tapes as we can in the 6 months or in the 2 years that you fund us. You have to know how long it takes. And in 2002, when I started, we built this archive, started building it. The going number was 10 hours to digitize and archive 1 hour of recording. And we started doing it, and we based our grant on that. And it was like, we are never going to get through this material. That all the real players are going to stop working before we manage to digitize all the reel tapes that we need to do. So that was our big concern in the early days, because that was researchers had collected a lot of really wonderful recordings of indigenous languages of Latin America, which was the point of this archive. So we needed to know how long it really took. And also the funding agencies were starting to get the sense that was seriously padded, right? And also, especially for people like us at UT, we didn't have that super calibrated equipment that you might, really carefully craft. It's like an audio studio where you would really carefully recalibrate everything. We were just connecting old reel players that we scavenged from like the psychology department. I actually bought 2 reel players from a guy out of the back of his car in a parking lot in a suburb in West Houston. This is a Swedish audiophile. And it was, this is where you get those things. And, we were just hooking them up to our computer and doing the best we could, given our circumstances. So I had to do timing studies. So I would get out 10 reel tapes, and I would start the clock, and I would digitize them, and then I would stop the clock, and I would see how long did that take. They break. It's not an hour per hour. The tapes break. You have to splice them. It takes time to set them up in the beginning and put them on the machine, and they change speeds, and the drunker the anthropologist gets, the more often the speed changes. There are these puberty ceremonies in Amazonia where the goal is to get as drunk as possible. And I'm so glad I didn't work there. Nice, sober Christian Mexican Indians. But anyway, so there's all these factors, and then you have to do the metadata, and so then I would get 10s. You have to cut each recording into components, and then you do the metadata. So you do 10, start the clock, enter the metadata for 10, stop the clock, upload them. How long does that take? And so you just test you time every step of the way and figure out how long it actually takes. For us, it ended up being something like 3 hours per hour of recording. And for cassettes, it was almost hour to hour, because you can do 5 at once. They don't fall off the thing. If you have 5 players, you can rock it. Anyway, you want to know. And the only way to know, I think, is to keep track. So the next time you start a book, on day 1, start a work log. This is another thing I learned from my last job, actually doing field work with an absolute tyrant who would yell at us if we stopped. If we laughed, because he would know we were screwing around, right? Breaks are only supposed to be 15 minutes. But we had to keep a work log, and that again is for grant management. He had to know what we had done, and so every day you write what you did, and it's really a valuable tool for finding out. I still do it. I keep I set up my to-do list for the week, and I keep a work log. So it's like now I'm in revision mode. I can revise basically a chapter a day if it's a tough one and needs a lot of work, or two. This is getting from draft 1 to draft 2. 2 a day if it's not that bad and if it worked out. So I've just started paying attention to that so I can figure it out. I can respond to the copy edits that I get back. Now I'm not changing anything about the story, right? This is strictly language. I can do that in one day, a short day actually. And I can format the digital version in 30 minutes first thing in the morning, and it takes about an hour and a half to do a print. So I give myself a day for that. But you want to know how long this stuff takes. At this point, now that I understand my own process, and you can do a draft 1, I can do a draft 1 45 days with 2 weeks for, I don't know where that 90 days came from, 45 to 60 days that should be, with allowances for interruptions. What interruptions means is screwing around. Yeah.
I'm just curious, it says 2 to 3 weeks for plotting. Does that mean you're working every day, and how many hours a day?
I work every day, and my work day is usually something like 5 hours. I actually haven't done strictly plotting for 2 whole weeks because it's really distractible. But I love doing it. It's very fun, and I'm going to be more orderly about it this time. I have a couple of plotting tools. One is just my favorite now is the bulletin board with the pieces of duct tape stripped across it for Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and also because sticky notes stick to that stuff better, and color-coded sticky notes. And yeah, I'm going to do 2. My goal this time, I have in the past done a week or 2 of more vague plotting work and going back and forth and using Supernote card. This time I'm going to do 2 weeks and really drill down and do a better job of making sure that each scene is actually carrying over properly from the other scene. And I just took this Michael Hague workshop.
So, do you have any idea how many hours a book would take?
A book? No. No. Wow. No, because you know that 2K a day thing, that's highly variable.
Right.
On a good day, that's only 8 pages. So on a good day, I'm done in 3 hours. On a bad day, I'm kicking myself and having to practically put weights on myself to stay in the chair. And there are days when I just bail. What I really like is to write a scene a day, but then I don't want all my scenes to be 2,000 words long. Or so, I don't know. Yeah, that's a little bit. It adds up over the week. Right. So the hours I can't get that far down, and I don't need to. So if you need to, it would be worth it to find out, right? Yeah, I do. My work log is on a daily basis, not on an hourly basis. So if you needed to know that, yeah, I would actually just do it. And the thing is about that timing study. It's data collection. It's not aspiration. It's not an opportunity for self-shaming. Right? You save that for your journal. It's just data collection. You, the you that you are, living the life that you live, how long does it take you to do this? Because unless you know that, you don't necessarily know how to change it. I think it's really important. And you don't want to be, writing is, even however serious you are about making money, there's got to be joy in it or it will show in your writing. And I think if you're flogging yourself and driving yourself on, I just read a blog post by Elizabeth Bear about that very thing. Did you see that? Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So if you're hating it, take a break. I love it. Cannot wait to start plotting a new book. It's been something like 6 months since I got to start a totally new book. I want a totally new book. I love sticking sticky notes on my book. I love that. So much fun. And also it's starting to really be the one that I'm thinking about all the time. You get to the point where you're nearing the end of your draft revision. So I do a big draft. I used to do 3, but now I've got my revision process down to where I can really just do draft 1, draft 2, send it to the content editor. That's come back. Then do draft 3, copy editor, draft 4, and then it's out the door. But so when I get to the end of draft 2, I'm kind of through for my purposes, and hoping that there isn't going to be too much to do for draft 3 because I don't want to. I want to move on. Anyway, it's good. You need to know this about yourself. Whatever your process is, I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. It's my way. So your way is what you need to know. And then you can't predict how much you're going to write. You can't plan a production schedule looking 1 year out unless you know how long it takes you to do stuff. You can guess, and you shouldn't even really try. It doesn't make sense. You're just setting yourself up to scold yourself some more if you're into self-scolding. So well, don't do that. It doesn't help. It doesn't make things work better. So I have my publication schedule for 2016. You can put it on there. It's a different one in here. Yeah, and I like it. So the rhythm I'm trying to get into is to finish my draft 2, send it to my content editor, and then write a short story, because it'll take her a couple of weeks. Oh, back up. So once you get your first draft done, that's when your service providers enter into the process probably. And at that point, your schedule is dependent on their schedule. So the more predictable your schedule is, the farther ahead you can book these people, and the more likely it is that they'll return to you in good time. So Jenny, I have to book Jenny 2 months out, and or 6 weeks, but she manages her calendar really well. It's one of the things I like about her. So I know that I'll get my draft. I'll get her comments on content back in 2 weeks. So during that time, I can write a short story. And short stories are really fun, and it's like a palate cleanser, right? It's like that little cup of sherbet after a meal, and it's good also because it makes you gets your head out of that draft you've just written, so that you're cool to it when you come back to look at their comments. And I think that's really important. I have learned that revenge is not the only dish that's best served cold. Draft is another one, because otherwise you're like, no, I can't change that. That's the way it really happened. Wait, no, I made it all up. But you know, you lived it. You just lived it, and you think, oh, it's true. I always believe. You know, you think they're all true, and so you want to be able to delete big chunks of stuff or rearrange stuff or whatever if you're going to do an honest job of responding to that content edit. And if you're not, then why are you spending money on the thing? So it's good to have that little palate cleanser, I think. So this is my goal for this year, is to really rock this rhythm, where I write a book, send it off, write a short story, get it back, edit, start over. Right? So I should be able to do 3 books and 3 short stories a year. And I think that's good for me. That's a good pace for me. And I'm largely driven by my need to write these stories, because I think about them all the time. Yeah, see, if I didn't have writing, I would be weirder than I already am, and that's my primary motivation as an author. So anyway, I think that's the mission statement and the production schedule. You can see how they inform each other. If your goal is to make more money, you might need to step this pace up. I don't know. There's some debate about whether that's the best way to feed the kitty. But or you might want to slow it down. Maybe you're not writing well enough. Maybe you're pushing yourself too hard. So there's a conversation going on between your mission statement and your production schedule that I think is worth revisiting at least once a year, if not more than once a year. But once a year is enough. You don't want to spend a lot of time on this stuff either. Services and providers. This is back into the world of accountability, where it's a good idea to list all your service providers. I have actually not that many, since I'm having so much trouble finding editor for my Lost Hat books. But every year I'll have to put different ones, I guess, as I write those. I have a website designer, and she goes on that list. If you had a virtual assistant, you put those kind of people on your list. So it's important. Keep up with that. I take the opportunity to define what my editing policy is, basically, with these books. So all the novels get some story editing. Well, this is also the section where I talk about the contribution that my critique group makes. So last year I was trying to accommodate my critique group schedule, because I get the best feedback from them, but they're too slow. And it's not so much about, what's driving me isn't so much the need to produce for money, but I'm just too slow. It takes, we do 30 pages each session. We meet every other week, and that would be too many if we all turned in pages every time, but we don't. But that's like 4 or 5 months to work a book through the system, which would mean 2 books a year, and I want to do 3. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I'm experimenting with that. I love their feedback. I'm thinking about having them critique my plot, and then the first 100 pages, because that's where I usually get into my most trouble. I've just introduced 8 sisters and brothers for no reason, because I like to make up backstories. But aren't they interesting? Yes, but they have nothing to do with this story. So that's a problem. I want to make up backstories. And okay, so anyway, that's where you sort of, for me, in the rambling personal version of this thing, I explain to myself what my strategies are for getting books edited. My sense is that now in the indie authoring world, that content editing, that's the toughie. Everything else is relatively easy to get. You can find cover designers, you can just look at their work, right? A content editor, you kind of have to establish a relationship. And I keep, copy editing is not that easy either. I need a Texan to copy edit my section. I posted that thing about this woman who didn't know how to spell y'all. I mean, how sad is that? And I had another editor who kept saying, I had a sheriff saying something like, let's us have a little look-see. And she kept correcting that "let's us." She couldn't let it go. Like, no, I'm sorry, it belongs there.
What did she correct it to?
Let's.
Let's.
Yeah. I know. See, it's like it sounds so natural to us. So that's tricky. Editing is tough. Yeah. And then the short stories, there's another policy. So I'm not going to spend money on editors for short stories. Or covers. So I'm kind of struggling with that one a little bit. Formatting. Who's going to do your formatting? Even if it's yourself, I think it's worth it to make that clear. And your website design, right? So then section 8 for Denise was this target audience section. I chose to distribute that into 2 other sections, but you could put it all there if you want to. You could have a section that says series. That would actually be really meaningful, especially if you had, say, more than one pseudonym and wrote. I know a woman in the Austin Romance Writers. She has now hit the New York Times best-selling list under one of her pseudonyms. She's got like 3. She's super prolific. It's just deranged how fast she writes. And some of her books are young adult, and some of her books are erotica. She likes to keep those things distinct. So on to section 8 is platform. That's everything, all of your social, all of your online things, right? So I start with my website. That's the base of my platform. But I think it's worth listing these things and saying what your intentions are with respect to them. So this is where I also make a note of how many blog subscribers I have on January whatever, and how many newsletter subscribers I have on January whatever. So next year I'll look and I'll go, so I don't remember stuff like that, and I don't know where else I would put that piece of information. I don't remember anything with numbers in it. Explain my blog. I had a new idea about my blog, and actually I need to revise it again. So I have a Friday post and a Monday post, and they tend to be different. I have a newsletter, and I've kind of changed my mind about how that works. So I describe what my intentions are with my newsletter. And this might be a good place to put a note about how I intend to build my newsletter, although I guess that would count it more as marketing. So your Facebook, do you have a personal page and an author page or not, or what and why? And then I just list the other media that I maintain a presence at. So I don't spend time at Goodreads or LinkedIn. I just check in, periodically. This reminds me that I need to check in once a week, something like that. So if you have more and they're important to you, by all means list them. So the marketing plan. This, I decided, since I'm doing that month-to-month thing in another file, I decided this would be more of an overview. So the advice I got from one of the people from Greenleaf was to plan 4 quarterly campaigns and sort of put your effort into that. And I thought about it and I designed that, and now having done one of them, I've decided, no, that's not really what I want to do, because then there's kind of nothing happening for the in-between months. So I've decided I want to do something every month. So I'm going to have to go back and revisit this. And I think whatever that something is, I probably, for this month, is ticking past. I might not bother. I've got a book coming out next month, and so in April I don't have a book. Maybe I'll do a newsletter subscription boost, So it would add up to being something like, if I have a book coming out, then it'd be like a 99-cent promotion for book 1 in the series with a free Booksy ad to support that. And then if it were in an off month, I might do a Facebook ad to build newsletter subscribers. Right? So that's a strategy. So I'm sort of using this section just to look at my overall strategy in such a way as to facilitate the design of a budget that makes some kind of actual sense, right? Rooted in some kind of reality. So I had those quarterly campaigns, and I decided, okay, I could spend $500 on each one of them. So I came up with a $2,000. I think that's a little skimpy, but I'm going to shoot for $2,000 on marketing this year. No, I don't want to spend too much. I'm going to find ways to spend less. So I made $1,500 last year, to be frank, and I think I know that my publication costs are going to be about $2,000. So I'm trying to break even this year. So you've got to scale yourself accordingly, right? So depending on your goals, maybe it would be worth it to go ahead and invest in some heavy marketing for you this year with the expectation of earning that back next year. That's a common small business strategy. So it just depends on how you are thinking about your business and your goals and your production schedule. So you need to know that you're going to make your production schedule before you do something like that. Because it'd be crazy to spend that much money on advertising and then not have this stuff underneath it to sell. So I discuss my other marketing strategies have to do with, you might put tactics. This might be a place to put a list of tactics. Like here's, I have that in another file because and then I can patch stuff in that I get off the internet. So all the various different kind of things you can do, right? And then reviews is an important thing that I'm always kind of stewing about, like everybody, how to get reviews. Doing talks and workshops is another thing I can do. I don't really sell books, but it's part of building your author brand. And so appearances. So I'm going to put more into that this year, although so far I haven't actually done that.
You're doing it right now?
I'm doing it right now, that's right. No, I am doing it right now. Oh, and I did the reading yesterday, to which, maybe half a dozen people came, but it was fun. I'd never done one before, so that was interesting. And reading a book you wrote 2 years ago, that's interesting. I like it. And I'm always pleased to discover how good indie books are. I love the other 2 books. I thought they were terrific. I loved y'all's books when you did it too. So that's it's really always good to remind ourselves that we are doing good stuff here. So you're right, I have done things. And I did the Round Rock Career Day at the Round Rock Opportunity Center, which was a hoot. This 14-year-old boy told me he was reading 50 Shades of Grey. And I said, that book was famous for being badly written, right? And he's like, I don't care. So, he did not check that out in the school library. But they were smart. They were funny. It was really good. And now my books are in the in the library there, which I think is hilarious. I signed them, like keep reading and be Miss Ruley in Vienna Castle. So I don't know what that's good for. You never know what any of that stuff's good for. That's just putting it out there. I've started doing, I've signed myself up to do a talk at a Rotary Club in May. Because a friend of mine said, that's a great way to get your name out there and sell some books. So we'll see. Yeah? Try everything. My policy is to try everything at least once. Okay. Research and development. Conferences serve a lot of purposes. You have a right, in fact, you should, if you're a professional of any kind, be continually educating yourself in your craft and in your business practices. And then also branding. I went to Historical Novel Society last year in June, and on Saturday afternoon and evening I wore my Francis Bacon costume and to sign books in, and they had this little costume show where we had to walk across the stage and answer a couple of questions as our character. And I tell you, that was a great exercise in branding. Even the next day I'm back in my regular clothes, and I got in the elevator, and people said, "Oh my goodness, we're riding the elevator with Francis Bacon." Wow. And I got on the shuttle bus to go to the airport, and they go, "Look, Francis Bacon is on our bus." So I'm like, "Wow!" It actually is branding is an interesting thing. People like it. It's fun if you make it fun. I know a woman whose brands she does this kind of 60s style fashion series. Whenever she goes to a conference, she wears very 60s looking clothes in black and pink. She's very identifiable from a distance. People love it. It's great. It's actually a good strategy for kind of identifying yourself in a positive way. Branding. Who knew? It wasn't just some cold marketing concept. It's actually fun. Okay, professional associations. I belong to lots of them. That's another academic habit. You just belong to everything that is appropriate. Right? But it's worth listing them. And this is actually more for those Texas Book Festival kind of situations than it is for anybody else. If you're trying to get on a panel at the Historical Novel Society, you're going to like seeing their name and your list here, and it's worth knowing about, and it kind of solidifies your network. Okay. Then a summary. All good plans have a summary. Basically, just recapitulate your mission statement and your financial goal, something like that. And then references, of course. It's not a scholarly work without references. I had that drilled into me.
What are these? What are the other references we talked about?
Oh yeah, the other references. Sorry. I like Fiction University. It's one of my favorites. I follow her blog. I don't know if you know. Now I'm blanking on her name.
Janice Hardy?
Yes, Janice Hardy. I really like her blog. I think she gives really good writing advice and also career advice. She's got this indie publishing thread, and there's got a whole little thread about author business plans and about planning in general. She gets a lot of guest authors, so it's a little variety. And then there's the Denise Grover Swank link. Leslie Baroker did an article. It's another one that I like to follow. And Ava Poehler is local. We should get her up here to talk to us sometime. San Antonio, super successful writer of young adult fiction with a lot of marketing ideas. Oh my God, she's like a marketing, I don't know what you'd call it, something where lots of new things come flying out of it, Pandora's box or something, I don't know. And she has written about marketing plans. It's kind of in the news these days. I'm seeing more articles about marketing plans and business plans. So, yeah. So, hope that was useful. We're at the end.
Great. Questions?
Yeah, questions. And also comments. What do y'all do?
Well, I don't have a business plan, so this has been great.
I'm astonished. I'm shocked. I thought you were a business plan kind of a guy.
Not there yet.
Okay. It only took an afternoon. So,
Yeah.
you know, I always say a rainy afternoon, but of course I'm living in Austin. You don't get that.
I'd like to back up for a second to the bigger picture. Where does this get used?
Mostly for me, it's a planning tool. I used it in January. It helped me really plan my thinking for the year. I put a lot of thought in that publication schedule. One of my great issues is what am I going to write next? And so doing a thing like this, because I have these 3 competing series that I'm actually working on, and I have 2 in the wings, and so I'm always sort of going, what do I want to write next? I don't want to go by just what I'm in the mood for that minute, because that'll change the minute I get to page 183. So then I'll be in the mood for whatever the other one is. And I know from my job that jumping from thing to thing is no way to get anything done. You got to make a plan and stick to it. So for me, it's mostly for me, and I mostly use it for planning. And I will probably revisit it. Maybe I'll revisit it whenever I finish a book. I don't know. See how I am. But certainly in the year. And when I was doing my my collecting all those royalty reports at the end of the year, also it was useful as a way of figuring out what is this information good for, right? And that helps me. It feeds your marketing plan. It caused me to reevaluate my expenses. So it's mostly for me. But it could be, like I said, TBF wanted a business plan along with a copy of my book, and I guess that was their way of separating the careers from the hobbyists. And these days, I don't know if you go to conferences in the mystery world, there are like half a dozen big conferences. The biggest ones will not let you on a panel unless you are traditionally published. So you can imagine what a clamor has begun about that. It's obnoxious and ridiculous and annoying and wrong. And so not only all those other things, but it's also just stupid. And so then they decide, well, for some reason they need a threshold, right? They need some criterion. So they're not doing this, but a smart criterion might be a business plan, right, to prove that you're serious about your
Ricky, I have an offer for you to solid process.
Yeah. This is actually, it looks really fabulous, right? I mean, it looks like a big deal. I tell you, it took an afternoon, apart from the financial stuff. Right? And then I have revisited that publication schedule a couple of times. The timing program, your timing study, as I think of it, that's just you writing down what you do every day. Get up in the morning, say, when do I start work? Stop. When do I stop? What did I do? Every day. And I, in the field, we had a little notebook that we had to buy ourselves. And it got to be an issue. A little spiral notebook that you keep on your desk. And now what I do is, I generate so much scratch paper, I just fold it in half and I use this. This is my thing that I write on. And then, so that's where I write my little estimate of what I'm going to do that day. And also, because I'm a retired person, I tend to forget what day it is and things like that. So seriously, it sounds funny, but it's actually something that you worry about when you get a little older, a little out of touch. So you want to know what you got an appointment on Wednesday. And then I keep a work log of my book, and that is, so it's like draft. This time I'll go plotting. I'm going to start the day that I start. I'm going to start plot. I don't know how to describe what I did that day. It's not like there's a quantifiable.
Maybe just hours spent, right?
Yeah. How many hours did I spend actually working on the plot without distractedly wandering off and doing something else like that? So this is going to be the first time to really kind of nail that down. But then for all the rest of it, it's quantifiable. You can say, I wrote this many words a day. I revised chapter 2. And then because you can look at the dates. That's how long that took.
Yeah, so you also inspired something when you said chair weights
Oh yeah.
Thinking that could totally be marketable, you know. Like,
Oh yeah.
Chair.
You have to install it in your ceiling, right? You got to find a stud and install it in your ceiling so that it lowers down when the time comes and forces you to stay in your
But
chair.
then I even tried. I mean, when earlier on, when I was like, oh, it's fine. I need a magic chair and all this stuff. Like I even found the most isolated little space, and I'm like, oh, the wall. Like I started looking at
Yeah, there's no hope. I once posted on Facebook, oh my God, there's a hair on my keyboard. I have to quit for the day. Anything. You don't want to write it. It's anything. No, it's partly, and this will help you with that, I think, because you'll say no, because another thing that will help you is booking that content edit. Because you know, if you slide, you will throw your whole schedule out of whack.
Right.
It's like Jenny's always very forgiving about this kind of stuff because she's got someone else to come right in. But it's not like she's going to say, "Oh, just whenever you get to it."
Yeah, there's only another 2 months before.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So once you start rolling with that, and I don't recommend that you even try for your first couple of books because you are just struggling. The main thing you learn when you first start writing novels, you have to learn your craft, right? But also you learn how you write. It's not that you also have to learn how to write and how you write. So it's different for absolutely everybody, and so you want to know, you want to give yourself room to develop that organically. So to speak.
You say that when you put out a second, third, or fourth book in the series, you put the first book at a reduced price for a few days. Are you talking about on Amazon?
Oh, everywhere. Yeah. I'm wide. Actually, making a book free on Amazon is a big pain in the butt unless you're in Kindle Select, I discovered. It's impossible to control the timing. It got that way. It was never free in the UK. It was really irritating. So I'm not going to do that again. I'm just going to go 99 cents through it. I think that's just as good, to be honest. And it's super easy, and you can go 99 cents in a flash anywhere. And I don't like exclusivity, but I'm thinking about. I just realized I just read a post about this, and I need to do my numbers. I have Widows Guild was in Select for the past 6 months almost because I forgot to take it out, and I get a lot of page reads. I should add up the money. I probably got more page reads from Kindle Unlimited than I sold. Certainly than I sold on iTunes or even Kobo and those together. So I might do that with my Texas series because I don't really feel like putting any energy into them, and to me that's a way of getting books out there without putting any work into them. And so I don't know. I'm not great at marketing. I'm easily distracted. I have some role models that I pay close attention to, and I just noticed one of them advertising another book. It's like the third in her series is 99 cents for a few days, and I just realized that's her promotion of the month. And that's when I realized, oh yeah, doing something every month. So you're always kind of in the eye. So I think that quarterly thing, it's not really right for me. I think that something monthly. So I'm going to have to revise my statement a little bit. Yeah. What else? Yeah.
One of the things that I do for my audiobooks as well as books, but it applies, is kind of look at what I'm selling them for, and then how many I need to sell at, wherever they're selling. So if it's Amazon, they're being sold for $15 a piece or something. Knowing what my cut is, my royalty rate, and I'll try to figure out when I break even.
Yeah.
So that I can even do an analysis ahead of time whether I'm going to take that book on or not. If I really think I can't sell X number of books, then it's not worth my time.
Yeah, you have to do that. Otherwise, because it is time consuming to do audiobooks. That's a whole nother factor. So that's a really good example of why this kind of thing is useful. So you can think about it. Or you might think, it might help you decide what to write next. So maybe the thing you have a choice between, okay, my Moriarty series is a little sexier. It's aimed at a bigger audience than my Bacon series. That's a motivating factor for me. I guess I want to write what I want, but I would also like to sell more books. So somewhere in that ballpark is helping me make the decision to lean more in this direction than in another. So,
yeah, for you, what you said, 820, 850 that you spend.
Right.
Besides all of the time, of course, that you spend.
But writing, so I don't know how I don't know how you pay. If I had to factor in my mortgage and everything else, that would just be crazy. I don't know how you do that. But I just don't, roughly what you need to live on. So if I had to live on it, I would know that I wanted to replace the salary that I left, right? So you have that. You can kind of do those kind of calculations. That's kind of would be stressing my math skills a little bit. So I'm glad But for audiobooks, do you do that when you're thinking about whether or not to accept a project? So do you look at the author's sales and kind of, I see, yeah. So you would have to do that.
Yeah,
That
look
makes
at the
perfect
number of
sense.
books that the author has.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference. And the reviews and the sales and all that.
Yeah. So you know how long it takes you to produce an audiobook, or does that
Pretty much,
vary?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It varies depending on the style of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a nonfiction, much easier than a fiction book because I don't have to worry about characters.
Oh, right, of course. Yeah. I love audiobooks. I'm really getting more and more into them. Yeah, they're great, actually. They're very handy to have around. I could see that growing too. And I know my sales are nowhere near enough to interest for an audiobook producer at this point, but it's on my horizon. I want to do audiobooks. I actually have bins ready and waiting for each book to do. And my role models doing audiobooks, so it's exciting. More formats, more work, more royalties, and more different kinds of statements, formats. That's really hard. That part is hard.
We'll get an accountant in here soon.
Yeah. I think people don't realize how nitty gritty the questions I have are. They're really low level. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. See, I think a lot of us do. I was telling those kids at the Opportunity Center that the main thing they should do if they wanted to do any kind of creative work in their life was to take a course in small business management. Mm-hmm. They're just like, born to A&M. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they neglect that in our education somehow.
One day one of those kids will be running a small business and they'll say, man, I should have really listened to that Anna Castle.
They were cute. They were really fun. I'm going to do that again. Yeah, small business management. And why isn't there an informal course that's aimed at this? I'm really seeing a gap. Entrepreneurial. We are living in an entrepreneurial society, right?
Yeah.
And
so Seth Godin is creating a university, like it's an online university aimed at business management, but for like the new world. So you don't have to like spend a ton of money and go, a 3 or 4 year program and all that stuff.
good for him.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Now
so
let me know when it
I forget
happens.
what it's called, but if you just look up Alt MBA, there you go.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, how
Yeah.
interesting.
And he's very interesting. He's been into like education, kids education for a long time.
Well, it's timely. Yeah, because everybody, this is the exciting thing that the internet has done for us, was return the creative arts to people. That we used to have them. They went through this corporatization phase from the late Victorian period up through the early aughts, I think. It's when they really started crumbling. And their heyday, I think, was the 70s and the 80s.
Right.
And, where absolutely everything.
Well, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Austin Community College has some small business management classes. You could check continuing education.
I know, you're right.
Do anything, though, that they're still working off textbooks from the 90s, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It takes a long time for any university, even a small one like that, to be on top of what things are changing so fast.
Yeah, I just spent some time.
There are a lot of free online courses on entrepreneurial subjects.
Oh, really?
Like Udemy and Coursera and...
Well, I should look for some of that. 'Cause
Coursera,
seriously,
yeah.
I'm a disaster when it comes to bookkeeping. It's really stupid. And up until now, I haven't been making any money, so I knew how to do the Schedule C with no income, right? I'm good at that. I've been doing that for years. I've been deducting these trips to England since, the first one was probably 2004. And the romance writers are so practical. They have many talks. I've been to many talks about taxes for writers, so I know how to do that part. But assembling these disparate royalty statements is just crazy. They are really all over the map in all these different. And at UT, when I did my travel expense plans, and that was another good training because I do the exact same thing for my research for the book, and so I know that I'm IRS ready, right? Because I don't tape each receipt to an individual piece of paper, which they do make you do, but I do scan them. Yeah, so they can scan them real easily and make PDF files, right? All the labor goes back on the staff or the professor. They don't have staff. But you have to look up each receipt. You have to translate the currency on the day that it was charged. And it's actually, when you do that, there are times I've noticed when it's really could make a difference. And for a place like UT, $1 difference multiplied by 10,000, they just lost $10,000 that day if you didn't do it right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, good habits. Oanda, it's OANBA. This is the website for looking up currencies by day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's great.
I think there is Joanna Penn, the Creative Penn, if anybody knows that podcast. She has a couple of online courses. I think one of them is targeted for business for authors.
Yeah, it's not. It's way too high level.
Is
It's
it?
just like keep some books. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Or
okay.
you know, I mean, it's almost
I
like that.
I
Yeah.
haven't looked into it, so.
Yeah. It's not. I don't want to be too flippant about it, but it's definitely. I had that recommended to me when I posted to Ally saying, "Hey, does anybody have anything? You know, use Joanna Penn's book." And I'm going.
Well, I know she has
with all due
a
respect.
paid course that might have more details.
Oh,
to
it might.
and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pretty new.
Oh,
She
okay,
put it
I
out,
love
so
it.
But I
Yeah.
personally haven't taken it, so I don't.
Yeah.
I don't
So I
know.
bought her book, and it was definitely not that deep. Yeah. I really need somebody, you know, bookkeeping. I need
Yeah,
some
yeah.
basic bookkeeping. Trying to just figuring out how to deal with these royalty statements. And it's one of those things where you feel like if you just got the knack of it, and maybe just wrestling with it, and I get it. But I'll bet, you know, everybody has to do this. And this is something that is a little new, I guess, is that you get so many different kinds. Because all these, okay, smash words. Now I'll bet Draft the Digital is going to have a good one. Kobo, you had to actually copy it off. They just posted it on the website. And I wrote to them saying, what I need is a downloadable spreadsheet. And they wrote back to me within hours saying, yes, that's on our list. And they're great. Those guys are great. They are very responsive. And I think they have every intention of, you know, giving Amazon a run for their money in the book department, which is great.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Any other questions?
great.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.